All
All right,
right,
cool guys.
everybody,
We're,
we
we're good to
are
go.
live on Facebook with Ask the Expert series, and with today's great episode because about twice, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, we have 5 Thursdays, in the month, and of course, the first Thursday is we talk to a Compass broker. Next week, we're going to talk to John Cranston out in San Diego and tell the market there, and then second Alex, and then the third week is myself, and then fourth week is with Wit, and then fifth week, once in a half one, is with me. So what we're doing today, which will be a couple times a year, is kind of a check-in with what the marketplace is, what's going on, and just kind of a team powwow. So kind of the first thing is for Wit and Alex. Why don't you tell us, Wit again is in LA, Alex is in New York. Alex, what's going on? Is New York dead and quiet, and everybody are leaving in droves, and it's a ghost town, or what's happening?
Great question. Thanks, Martin. Super excited to fill you guys in on the market. So things opened up June 22nd. That's when phase 2 started, and that's when real estate brokers like ourselves could start showing property. And literally, from the moment that the doors opened, it's been nonstop running around the city, showing buyers properties. There's a lot of stuff in the market. So buyers have options. They want to see everything they can because they want to know what type of value they can get for their money. Is this a good option? Is it not? And then, to your question, Martin, are people leaving the city? Yes, absolutely. It happened after 9/11. Some people chose to leave New York because they were scared. Pandemic, COVID-19. It's a scary time. And if people were thinking about leaving the city, maybe they were thinking about buying a house in New Jersey or moving to Westchester. Pandemic probably pushed them over the edge and made them decide that they do want to leave the city. So that's where we're seeing a lot of this supply come to market, people choosing to list their homes for sale and leave.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And then what is occupying those apartments? Those are traditionally small 2 bedrooms, and small for New York means 1,000 square feet or less. Who is looking in to occupy those spaces?
Yes, absolutely. So you have young families, usually a lot of first-time home buyers looking to start having a family, having their first kid. So those are the people looking at those smaller kind of 2 beds. With 1 beds, there's a lot of supply out there. A lot of companies have advised their employees that probably for the next 6 months, the next year, they're allowed to work from wherever they are. They're allowed to telecommute. So if people don't have a need to be in New York City, they're not looking to buy here. They're staying, home in New Jersey with family or whatever. So demand has been impacted as supply kind of goes up.
Got it. We'll come back to that in just a minute. I've also heard, or just quickly, that those smaller 2 bedrooms with interest rates really low. Are you finding single or couple people that now can work from home indefinitely? Are they looking at those smaller 2 bedrooms, taking the second bedroom as a home office or 2 home offices?
Absolutely. I think everyone, whether it's a 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed, I think everyone is looking at property now. And the question they are asking themselves is, can I stay here 23 to 24 hours a day? So to your point, is there room for a home office? Do I have a view? Is it quiet? Do I get good light? Is there outdoor space? Will I have somewhere to go if my wife is on her conference call? Do we have space that we both can be working from home? So there's a lot of considerations, and don't get me wrong, people are out looking at buying property. And to your point, interest rates are at all-time lows. The wind is behind their back to buy. But it's a matter of finding the right property and having the confidence to pursue it, knowing that you're getting a good deal.
Got it. And what's going on in LA out there? We jokingly, I remember one of my favorite jokes about LA. It's a suburb looking for a city. What's going on?
A lot of similar things we're experiencing as well too. Our market in the single family homes under 3 million is on fire. We're seeing multiple offers on single-family homes. It seems to be a lot of people are looking to either move up to larger homes or move out of their apartments or their condos into, to get that outdoor space. And we're seeing that all over the city.
Got it. So the single family homes are having a yard or your own compound, your own palace, if you will. But you're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the condo market. Is that correct?
That is correct. A little bit more in our luxury high rises, where you are more likely to see more of a than, say, maybe the townhouses or things where people can go directly into their unit without having to deal with elevators and common doors and things like that.
Got it. That makes sense to me. So the less interaction with other people, the less desirable it is.
And real quick, Martin, just to piggyback off of that, we're seeing the same exact thing here in New York City. The large buildings with 150 and 300 units, they're seeing less traffic, less people feeling compelled to want to buy something in a large building like that. But single families, townhouses, they are flying like hotcakes. I was actually in a bidding war with the highest and best round of bidding due on Tuesday, and we came in second. And the person who won was significantly than us. So people are willing to pay up to get that single family property, to get away from elevators and buttons and to have outdoor space.
Got it. That makes sense. And, like everything, this too shall pass. So for some of you that are attracted to those high amenity, high floor buildings, in 18 months or so, that'll all be back and you probably can get a really good deal on it right now.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Williamsburg, when they were redoing the L train and everyone was selling and fleeing and they were just giving away the apartments, right? And then all of a sudden they fixed the L train and then everyone came running back to Williamsburg. So yeah, people want to leave the city, let them. They'll be coming back in about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that's funny. It's I always joke that a lot of people use short-term thinking for a long-term purchase, which is home ownership. What about interest rates? Is that affecting people's ability to buy and purchase more? Are we at an all-time low, or what's happening?
Absolutely, it's absolutely increased a buyer's spending power. With these record low interest rates, I mean, we're seeing some people, if they're willing to go into the 15-year fix, they're definitely in the 2s. Most are hovering right around 3%, which is just, I mean, it's all-time cheap money, which then increases what a buyer can spend, and therefore, too, with those multiple offers, we're seeing people be able to go up higher and all that kind of stuff. So
So this might be a good time for sellers in LA that, have been thinking about, well, quote unquote, when I retire, I want to move to a different market, such as Austin or, another area. This might be a good time to sell LA because you're kind of at record prices all-time high.
Record prices all-time high. It is completely a seller's market in the single-family home area.
Wow. Yep, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's amazing.
Who would have thought, right?
I know, right? Absolutely. But everybody kind of wants their own setup.
And the
Sean,
interesting thing,
go ahead.
I was just going to add one more thing. The interesting thing too that I'm seeing is that I have clients right now in escrow about to close escrow. So these are properties that they went into a month to 6 weeks ago. And already it's looking like they got a good buy because of what's happened in the last 4 to 6 weeks, with prices spiking even higher than where they were when they purchased.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, just kind of talking on the whole COVID thing. So can people actually see properties, or do they only can see it virtually, or how does that work, Whit?
So here in Los Angeles, we can follow CDC guidelines, and the governor's order has allowed real estate agents to show houses. We have very specific guidelines that we have to follow. We have essentially a disclosure and release form regarding people's health that has to be signed on the day that they want to visit a property. Also, too, our guidelines for visiting a property are you must be masked and you must wear gloves. You don't have to wear booties, but also, too, usually when you enter a property, you're asked to use the anti-infectant stuff. brain freeze there for a second. Also, too,
whatever that is.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
We're only allowed 3 people in a property at a time. So generally, that's 1 real estate agent and 2 buyers.
Okay.
No more than 3 people in a property at a time.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And Alex, is it similar in New York? Can people physically go see properties in New York City right now?
Absolutely. There's a whole process really similar to what Whit described. A liability waiver and health disclosure. And then when people show up, everyone's wearing a mask. You either wear gloves or you're forced to use hand sanitizer. You take off your shoes or you wear booties. You maintain 6 feet of distance. And then hopefully you get to look at the place, right? Right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Sean, our in-house staging and styling expert, what are you doing differently or what are the trends with styling and staging in the COVID era?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily changed with styling and staging during the COVID era. I mean, I think we were always following sort of particular guidelines, and those guidelines really adhere to, the possible COVID guidelines. So I don't think any of that has changed. But I think with staging, you start with, my goal is to inspire the potential buyer to see how they can best live in this home. And I think I want someone to come into the home and feel inspired to be there and feel inspired to live there. And there's nothing greater than coming back to a place that inspires you. So my number one goal is to make a place feel inspired when a potential buyer enters. So that's what I work with, and that hasn't changed because of COVID.
That sounds great. And I really like the idea of inspiration because, and I joke that often that, we're not just selling real estate, we're selling the lifestyle that comes with purchasing the property. And, for all those sellers out there that are, just thinking I can, take a few snapshots and throw it on the market, or I've got the furniture out and it's empty. What do you have to say for that, Sean?
Well, I say what I think we do as a team that's possibly slightly different than just photographing the apartment or the space is that we also photograph moments. And a moment is something sort of that you see in a catalog, something that inspires you. Well, perhaps this is a place where you can sit and have a coffee during the day, or this is the view that you would have perhaps looking through a certain window. So what we do is we not only photograph the space itself, but we photograph moments that are very inspirational moments, sort of to inspire you. Oh, I can do this with this particular space. Perhaps it's something that you haven't thought of before.
Okay, but what about sellers that have empty apartments? What's your advice to them? Or people can see past my clutter in the living room. I don't want to go through my tax returns. I'll just have it a pile in the corner. What's your advice for them?
Well, while buyers are very savvy, they are also very limited with seeing through clutter or seeing an empty space. So in order for a place to sell, an empty apartment rarely sells faster than a staged apartment. And a cluttered apartment rarely sells faster than a decluttered apartment. So my advice is to declutter the space, style the space, and if it's empty, certainly consider staging the space.
Absolutely. And I agree with that, Sean. So, and just as a note, it'd be great if you use us, but talk to your broker now. If your space is empty, by all means, try to have it staged. It also gives a sense of scale. Oftentimes empty rooms look smaller, right, Sean?
Correct. I mean, certainly having a furnished apartment gives you an idea of what the space can fit. I mean, most people come in and they says, well, can this fit a size bed? Well, if you have a queen size bed there, then the question is, oh, perhaps this can fit a king size. So that, you want to have the space. It's great to have a space furnished for that reason and for other reasons as well, but for specifically for sizing and to see what a space can fit.
Got
Hey
it.
guys, I
Got
gotta
it.
just say, this is my first time being on Ask the Expert, and it feels so professional. I mean, I feel like I'm an expert.
Well, we're really happy to have you, Sean, on this. That sounds great. So, Whit, what are some of your tips for buyers? Do they just throw out an offer, or what preparation do you have for them in this competitive market if they're looking for a single family home? And I think this would be across nationwide. Stats are up nationwide. It's the one bright spot of the economic sector is residential housing right now.
Sure. What I would say is pick a price point a little bit lower than what you actually can afford to start off with, because certainly here, because of the multiple offer situation, I'll give an example. Say I have a client that's looking in the $1.8 million price point. Well, what I would say is they need to really start looking in the $1.5 million to $1.6 million price point, and then be prepared to go up to $1.8 million for that property. That's the type of activity that we're seeing on really good properties. Of course, you can still see properties that are closer to your budget, but you should be prepared that those properties may sell for quite a bit more than their list price.
Okay, great. And then if they want to make an offer, they just submit an offer. Do they need any paperwork to go with it? Do they want a letter of introduction? Do they need a pre-approval from a bank? What's that all about?
No, I mean, obvious. You know what? I'm sorry you broke up because of my connection, but I think it's not. Your point was it's not just to submit an offer. We obviously run comps to see what's going on with the market. We certainly are in communication with the listing agent as well to try and get an insight on the activity or the level of activity and interest on the property as well, so that when we decide how we're going to make the offer, what price point we're going to come in at, they're armed with a lot of knowledge ahead of time to figure out where should they start and what should they be willing to go up to for this property, so they're getting good value for the property.
Got it. And going back to you, Alex, that maybe what didn't hear me say was, do we need a pre-approval letter from a bank? Do we need a letter of introduction?
Yes, absolutely. So my biggest feedback to buyers is get ready. All your ducks in a row. Choose a real estate attorney that you want to work with. Even if you're going to buy in 3 to 6 months from today, have that person ready. Go through the bank's pre-approval process. The bank is going to look at your assets, your finances, income, credit, and decide what the bank will loan to you. And that will give you a sense for what you can afford and help inform what types of properties that you're seeing. I've had people not do the pre-approval and think they're going to afford $1 million, $2 million, and they can't. And I've had the opposite happen where they think they're capped at $750 and they can easily go up to 1.2. So getting pre-approved is, I really think, step one, even before you talk to someone like me, although I know amazing mortgage bankers that I can introduce you to. And then you mentioned this letter of introduction. It's a weird market. Buyers are skittish, sellers are anxious. Sending a letter of introduction, why you love the home, why you want to buy it, who you are, what you're about. It's a nice way of kind of putting a face to an offer, and it can help make a difference, especially in a multiple bid type of situation.
All right, that makes sense, right? Because usually if it's two people that are selling a property, one person may be, the hard numbers type of person and, show me the money, show me the pre-approval. The other person, hopefully both of them had a great time at the house, at the property, and in some way want to make sure the home goes and who's going to be able to create great memories with it, and I think a letter of introduction helps that way. So, all right. So the other quick thing, wow, as always, these things fly by. So, Whit, is there anything that you want to say before I jump in? I'm going to jump in a little bit about best practices a little bit, some things that I cross. But Whit, is there anything you want to add about this marketplace that I haven't touched base on?
No, I actually think that we've given a pretty good picture of what's going on. Also, you touched on the fact of what buyers need to prepare in order to go see a property with their finances, which I didn't hear when you were bringing that
no
up.
worries. No worries.
And so, yeah, no, I think pretty much everything was covered. Thank you.
That sounds great. And Alex, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I have a couple of quick things. Look, it's very much a buyer's market, but this is the time that you want to be buying. There's a famous saying by a pretty good investor named Warren Buffett who said, "Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful." The time to buy is not when the house has 10 offers. It's when it's been on the market for 30 days and they need to sell. So if you guys are thinking about buying, reach out to any of these amazing estate brokers on this call. And the other thing I want to say.
Shameless plug for the team.
Yeah, I can't help it. Come on, I'm a salesman. Come on, guys.
Come on, people.
And the last thing I want to say is just get out there. Go see property. Don't be scared. There's an amazing protocol and process. And to be honest with everyone here and everyone listening, this feels like regular life, except everyone's wearing a mask.
Got it. That sounds good. Kind of bouncing back to you, Sean, quickly. What advice do you have for buyers that, maybe they see an apartment, but it's not beautifully staged or is cluttered? What tips do you have for them to look beyond the emptiness or the too muchness, if you will?
So my thought is to definitely try to see beyond someone else's clutter, which is often hard to do. But just try and envision yourself in the space with your things, living the way you would live your best life within that space. Also, I just want to add, because we haven't heard from him, but this is an awesome team, and you get to see us out front, but you don't get to see Jared, who's behind the scenes, who's our director of operations, and he does a fantastic job of holding this all together. And certainly during this era of COVID, Jared has a lot of paperwork that he has to be on top of, and he's making sure that we're all staying safe. So thank you, Jared, and also happy birthday.
Wow. I appreciate it. Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate that.
That's right. It was Jared's birthday yesterday. Jared, do you have anything to say about everything that's going on right now?
No, I mean, the feedback I think is great. It's good to know that, even though I'm not maybe in the market, it's good to know that things are, not business as usual, but that things are still proceeding. There are new protocols in place, but it is still such a good time to get out there and at least see properties. Like maybe you're not, interested in pulling the trigger now, but like there's never been a better time to, see what the inventory is like, see what you're interested in. Maybe you have all these preconceived notions of what you want, but you go into a place and it's completely different. So yeah, I'd say I like what I'm hearing.
That makes sense. So kind of on that, I'm gonna follow up on a couple of, and sometimes we do have brokers listen in on this, some best practices or not so best practices. So I actually this morning picked up a client, a buyer client for a $3.5 million budget here in Brooklyn, and they had been working with another agent for the past 2 weeks. That agent, guess how many times that agent physically went with them to see a property? Anyone? That's right, Whit, 0. That broker went out with them 0 times for a $3.5 million property. Buyers, look, the reason anybody can find a property on a search aggregator, the reason why you would work with an agent is definitely to, as an advisor in these uncertain times, you want to have someone that has the depth of knowledge that can tell you if this is a good new construction, bad new construction, what's the staging tricks to do with it. Another thing that I saw yesterday and it was a nice apartment. It was furnished but not styled. So Sean, you want to just touch base the difference on those two things? John, are you there?
Yeah, here I am. I think the difference is just simply being inspired. And a stage department that's styled presents a certain level of inspiration versus just having furniture in a place. So I think the difference is just being, just having a space versus having an inspired space.
Got it. And kind of what I was getting at is that, this furnished space had a couch, had a dining room table and chairs, had a bookshelf, but there was no throw pillows on the couch. There was no vase of flowers on the dining room table. There was no books or tchotchkes on the bookshelf. So you were able to have, spatial arrangement, but you were not able to have, a sense of, what it would feel like to live there, using Sean's words on that. And then kind of one other best practice I also had today was a call from a broker that I have buyers that were going to go look something on Riverside Drive on Sunday. And she said, we have an accepted offer. I would show, if you want me to show for backup, I will, but I would have to drive an hour to go show it. And, I'm sorry your job is getting in the way of your life. That's just, from my point of view, inexcusable. If you don't want the listing because it's bothering your time, and sellers don't put up with this. They're here to show it night and day, especially in this market. And newsflash, just because you have an accepted offer does not mean you have a signed contract. Failure rate is high here in New York, probably in LA. Maybe somebody thinks they're buying too much and they pull out, or something along those lines. So just kind of on that, be mindful that, clients are the priority, and our time comes in second for those type of things.
Nothing is
Jared,
closed until it's closed.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared, what time are we at?
We have 1 minute left.
1 minute. All right, Sean, since this is your first day, why don't you give us the shout out of some closing wisdom words?
Unmuted. I'm unmuted. Okay. I would just have to say that I'm thrilled to be a part of such an amazing team, and I get along with all of these guys super well, and we jive really well. We have fun together. We enjoy each other's company, and I think it's key to do what you love and be surrounded by people who are doing what they love. So we have that.
Love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, thanks everybody. Guys, just hang on 1 second after we go off Facebook Live. But thanks again for joining Ask the Expert with our roundtable today.